All right. So basically, I want you to go to istebrak.com. I critique your work for free. All you got to do is go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here. This will take you to the subreddit. The mecca of our establishment. There's a community challenge going. The community challenge is due on the 22nd of April. Okay, April 22nd, all submissions must be handed in. But it's a design challenge. You draw a book cover, you win a lot of stuff. It's open for everybody, and not necessarily the most skilled person wins. Sometimes it's about who tried the best, because the person who wins gets at most max 2 sessions with me where I teach them. If somebody's posting an amazing piece of work, I got nothing left to teach them. But if it's somebody who's middle intermediate, early intermediate, late beginner who's trying this challenge, who really gives it their all, and even advanced students have a chance of winning, just depending on the effort. Really, it's not about only the best artist can win. It's not like other challenges you've seen in other communities. This is about education first and foremost. And so I want you guys to believe that you can win. I don't want you guys to say, oh, I'm not skilled enough to do this. I want you to try, because you never know. Every time I did a challenge like this and the winner won, they said, I had no idea I was going to win. I just wanted to try it. Which is something you guys need to take to heart. Okay, give yourself the chance to do this, and give your all and try it. Just give it a chance. I know it's not a monetary financial reward. It's not like you're getting thousands of dollars. It's not a sweepstakes or anything, but the what you get in return is a lot of educational value. So there's that, and then there is Portrait Studio, which you'll see today, as well as my masterclass. Both are on sale and will no longer be on sale. This is more of like a really important announcement. As of like tomorrow or early next week, it'll go back to full price. This is because Portrait Studio and my masterclass have been on sale for a while now, and I have not raised them back to regular price, simply because I just don't want to be one of those people that sells expensive stuff. But I really did give it my all, and gave 10 years plus of educational experience into building this masterclass. And anyone that's ever used it has said, and they've tagged me and they've told others, this is for beginners, this is for intermediates, and this is for advanced. This is for everybody. I go through every single brushstroke with you. And so it's very, very beginner friendly. Again, it's all about, don't discount yourself from trying. While it's still on sale, you guys can grab it. And that's it for announcements. Let's take a look at these pieces. So I picked 2 pieces, and both of them are dealing with a lighting issue. And the lighting is always too safe. You guys are always going for that magazine front cover stock photo lighting. And let me show you what I mean by stock photo lighting. Okay, so it's this type of lighting right here. It's well, these are not so much. I mean, these are stock photos too. But this type of lighting, very safe lighting. It's good. You can use it for skin commercial, or you can use it for some kind of antidepressant medicine, or you can use it for a charity program, or you can use it for like a stock photo. It's safe. You can use this lighting for anything. Okay, it's very, you can use it for eye cream, you can use it for eye drops, you can use it for a commercial about toilet paper, you can use it for a commercial about moms dealing with their annoying little kids in their diapers. You can use it about it. It's very, very safe stock photo lighting. You guys are doing a lot of that, and I'm not sure, maybe this one is a little different, but cinematic lighting is what you're supposed to do for your cinematic lighting is what you're supposed to do for your illustrations. All right, so let's take a look at cinematic lighting. I just Googled it. So this right here is cinematic. It has some shadows. The shadows, there are shadows. That's the point, is that the shadows have a story to tell. Okay, light can come from different directions. Light can tell a story. Light is not flattering. This is not about making them look like the most universal, usable, user-friendly pharmaceutical friendly lighting, okay? Yes, yogurt commercials, exactly. This is not for yogurt commercials. Okay, so what is this for? This is for the N word, the beautiful N word we all love to use, narrative. This is for telling a story. This is for making things and characters look dangerous. I believe these are both from True Grit. This is from uh, Blade Hunter, Blade Runner. This is from AI. I think this is Blade Runner. I think this is AI as well. Not sure where this is. This is just a shot, and this is just a shot of a set. So I want you guys to paint like this. So how am I going to get these two to do that? Well, I'm going to pick one lighting setup, and you saw an arrangement of them. There's different types. Light coming from beneath makes a character, like, changes their face, makes it so that the first time we see a character, we have some respect for their hidden mystery. Here, this makes the character feel like we don't know who he really is. Not fully, part of him is hidden or changed. A lot of hidden, not a lot of stuff is exposed right away, because the point of narrative in movies is that they drip feed you the information of the narrative. Not everything is told to you right away. You don't know the ending at the start of the movie. So just like that, every shot mimics the nature of the movie. So if you're going to have a mysterious movie, you're going to have mysterious lighting for every single shot if you can. And so you guys have seen the Joker. You've seen the story. And so him being in overhead lighting, making him look deformed, that on top of this silly face makeup is what creates that middle ground, that uncanny, terrifying aura that he has around him, where he can mock himself, and so he becomes bulletproof. And there's just a lot of layering here. Here, this character looks, I don't know if this is from AI, but it looks, makes the character look small, makes the character makes things feel like the world is much bigger than him. He's very small in this entire scene, but the lighting is a silhouette, so it means he's a person of interest in this scene. There's something important about to happen to him. He's part of the silhouette. He's part of the emergence. He's surrounded by light, but he himself is in shadow. Something might happen to this child where we might not be very fun for him. That's what we want to do when you paint. So you guys aren't doing that. You guys aren't doing enough of that. So let's start with this one. First of all, the pose. The pose is important. Pose is about the acting. So the pose and all of that is all up to the actor. That's the actor's job. The costumes and all of that is for, obviously, what's going on here? The costumes and all that is up to somebody else, and so that's something you also have to learn as the illustrator. But let's take a look at what you were trying to do. So I'm just gonna pose this character for us really quickly. I want to keep her open. So she seems like a dangerous character. She seems like a character with a lot to hide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt her head to the side and tilt it down, changing the camera angle so that we see that same angle you were trying to do, sort of. Okay, and maybe you weren't actually going for a very big camera angle. All right, you were also trying to make her look like very sporty sort of pose. So it's going to be something like a, all right, so I'm gonna tilt the hips, tilt the hips over, tilt them back. All right, I'm just trying to mimic what she's doing. And I'm gonna just lower down those. Arms, so bear with me. Just to make her look like she's ready, kind of like the character from Ghost in the Shell, I forget her name. I'm gonna push her chest out, push her head down, and give her more of an athletic leg stance as well. She's ready to dash, she's ready to run. And I'm going to change the lighting now. I want the lighting to be a silhouette, so obviously I'm not going to do it like that here. I'm going to do it in the scene, but I'm going to use a type of lighting that is coming off the camera that has a bit more shadow. So she herself will have her own lighting, but the environmental light will also govern her silhouette. It'll be a slight silhouette, so it'll be a combination of two light sources. That's what I've decided. And so I want to kind of mimic what you're doing with the head. So she's kind of looking up and make the arms a little less robotic. There, you see, so her eyes are looking up at us, and so that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay? And so you have a really decent reference. I'm just going to, you can take a reference shot with the camera here, but I'll just do it with green shot. And what I'm aiming for is just a very, very like impactful shot for her. Just something that looks a little bit less awkward. So let's talk about where you messed up a little bit with the anatomy. So the arms are very, very short. They're not that big. The torso is very large compared to the rest of the body. We're talking like very, very oversized torso. Oh, her hand is up here. I thought her hand was down here. She's got like her hand up there. Okay. I just noticed. I thought this was her hair. Which changes her gesture a little bit. She doesn't look so dangerous anymore. So maybe I'll change it up. And then you've got her eyes and her lack of shadow when it comes to the hair. The hair isn't casting any shadow. So I'm going to try to fix all that really, really quickly and then jump on to the next one. Both of these, if I don't get to this one, both of these have almost stock photo lighting, especially this one. It's very boring. Istebrak, what's wrong with stock photo lighting? It's not an illustrator's lighting. You are an illustrator. It means you're making still movies. That's it. That's what you're doing. That's it. And that is the closest that's our nearest neighbor when it comes to artistic fields. Movie makers and illustrators work hand in hand. They work from the same bounty of information. They work from the same field, the same fundamentals of information, fundamental information. So that means that you are burdened with this character's story. You have to tell the story. And so that's why stock photos are garbage, because they don't have any real story. They're not tied to anything that is an actual tale or an epic of any kind, or even just like any standard movie. It doesn't have to be an epic. It's just a journey or anything like that is framed very differently from a stock photo. And you guys are painting with stock photo references, stock photo lighting, and you're wondering why your illustrations don't have an impact and why you're facing failure at certain degrees when it comes to people hiring you or something like that. That's because you're not telling a story. And if you are illustrating for other reasons, I believe every person who draws because they've wanted to tell a story, and they're just nothing could satisfy them other than just building the environment for themselves, building the story, everything. They just built it all instead of just waiting for somebody to tell the story for them or draw their characters for them. They're like, you know what? I'm going to draw my own damn characters. I'm imagining all these characters. And when I was a kid, I imagined 1,000 different stories. And that's where I got my desire to draw. So I think everybody has that. Everybody can tap into that. And so if you're drawing these illustrations with references that are built to have zero story, stock photos, so they can be of general use, so they can be used within different fields. Do you see what's happening as a common thread? They don't have any real story behind them. And so they're not going to be good for storytellers, which is what you are. So what I'm going to try to do is fix the anatomy really quickly, fix the lighting, fix the arm, fix all of that, and then go from there. So I'm going to grab, how do I want to do this? Maybe I want to jump in with liquefy first. So let me disconnect the arm and the hair. so that I can liquefy this without any danger of completely dysmorphing or whatever the arm. So I'm going to try to get the torso to be of the right size for her head and shoulder width. I'm going to ignore the other arm for now. Make sure the breasts are on a 3/4 view angle that is consistent throughout the entire body. So you literally have a symmetry line for you here. You made a symmetry line for yourself. And so I'm trying to follow it, making sure we have that everywhere. I can't tell actually what it is you're trying to do with this environment. Is it just like a character splash? If it is, there's not much happening. It feels like this is another example of a masterpiece temptation. Maybe it started off as a study and the artist just wanted to take it into an illustration, which is fine. It's fine to do that. But if you're not doing that with any planning, you're going to end up with these super stiff gestures that don't match the original head they're added on. Lighting that is not matching because you didn't plan the original portrait, you just started drawing it. And so it doesn't feel like a planned illustration. It doesn't feel like a lot of planning went into this. You kind of just pieced together whatever you came up with at the spot and went on with it. And that's why things look stiff, because if you're drawing as you go, things will look stiff. Write that back to me. The only way it doesn't look stiff is if you've practiced that drawing 1,000 times, and that's why drawing as you go may not look stiff. You guys love to remind me of that one Korean artist who's recently passed away, I think, that he draws as he goes and all his work looks good. And I like to remind you guys in turn, he must have drawn every single one of those layouts that he draws in 1,000 times already on paper until he memorized that sequence of perspective lines. There's no way that's just going to happen like that naturally, organically, just because of drawing. He must have drawn. That's mileage in front of you right there. And that's a lot of measuring and a lot of fundamentals. So no, drawing as you go makes things stiff. Write that back to me. So let's take a look at this. Before, after. The shoulder line was enlarged. The butt line, the hips towards the butt and all the glutes and then back down to the thighs were missing. The symmetry line that you ran down the stomach right here, missing. There's no real symmetry. It's just going straight down. And so there was no 3/4 view angle on the body. Studying the body in 3/4 view is just as important as studying it in front view. Okay, so before, after. And so, so that's done. I don't feel like the body and the head have much similarities here, but let's try to enlarge the arm so it makes sense with the rest of the body. All right, so let me just all right. All right, so I'm just trying to align the shoulder to match the body. All right, flip the canvas. Lots of mistakes coming through. And let me see if I can lasso the arm out of the way now. Okay. Oops. So we have this flipped body, and so I'm just going to go back into liquefy and make sure it makes sense. All right, so this other arm needs to be a little longer, needs to be a little higher. needs to sit on top of the torso. And then the face. So the face is, it's confusing me. It's young at times, it's old at times. So what I'm going to do is align all of the features back on a standard template. The template I'm going to use is Classic Beauty. All right, you can use a different one, but I'm going to try to keep the general attitude, kind of those French eyes, do you know what I mean? Or the just that dead look, that pretty pixie face, but dead look, kind of like tormented, but also pretty, but also really anemic. So I'm going to try to keep that going. All right. That other nostril is not rotated properly. So it makes me feel like you did a study that you weren't really sure about, and you just added an illustration to it. All right, and so I'm just trying to keep all of this 3/4 view. So in 3/4 view, we see cheekbones, which are missing. And she's got really developed breasts, so I'm going to assume she's an adult female. So I'm going to go ahead and give her some cheekbones. It's just the defining feature of adult female faces is presence of cheekbones or presence of face length. Write that back to me. So if you want to make a character look like an older version of herself, you just have to lengthen her face, meaning all features get elongated, especially the nose, and cheekbones start coming in. So for me, when I really, it's not any other thing that defined me growing up and changing. I didn't really show other signs of maturity after puberty. But one thing that really stuck out as I got older, I had cheekbones. Cheekbones just came in. And so for me, that's stuck in my mind. And that's kind of what I look for when I look at faces. I can tell someone's age. I can tell if a girl is kind of in her 20s versus 15 years old, is that baby face, those cheeks, and as well as the fat deposit in the cheeks. The cheeks really take over. And so it looked like she had a baby face, which was not working at all with the size of the breasts you were trying to do. It just looked very off and awkward. And so match the age together when you guys are illustrating. Really, it makes the biggest difference for female faces. If you just give them some cheekbones, everything will look grown up and it won't look weird in that you have a baby face, but like double D's, you know, it's weird. And so I'm just going to give the face some should I say before. See that baby face I was talking about? Absolutely, just a circle. And after, I'm trying my best to give her some structure, especially the smallness of the nose. That really was very part of that baby face. So I'm going to increase the size of the nose properly. Let me increase the density. Maybe the only way to really do it is through transform, but I'm going to try to do it with liquify. As much as I can do with liquify, I'll try to do. And so I'm trying to give the nose some length, again, some size, and just match the head and the size of the nose, the shape of the nose to the rest of the body. Again, before, after. Which is going to take a little bit, you know, of trial and error to get it right, but I am getting there slowly. Okay, I'm just trying to match everything along a line. I'm going to flip the canvas, go back and liquify, and the other flip. Always do this. Never stick in one canvas, one flip for too long. It's such a big mistake. So now I'm going to try to make the pupils look in the same direction. I'm going to try to give the eyebrows a little bit more distance from the eye. I'm going to try to continue with the classic beauty look, which is that small mouth, less wide nose. There's different types of beauty, but that's typically what we mean when we say classic beauty. I'm going to shrink the size of the eyes just a little bit. They're a bit oversized, so we're still pulling from that baby face. And I know that anime has influenced a lot of your beauty standards over the years. And I know you guys probably don't even think like normal proportions of an adult female look normal anymore. You guys are really into that kind of, I don't know how to describe, just the anime beauty. And so it tends to leak back through the studies you do, and then the eyes end up being abnormally large and etc. So I just managed to match it. Before I do any more work, I'm going to try to get that lighting. So we're back at the lighting. And what I do really is I just try to pick a light source that will tell the story that I want to tell. Okay. So I'm just going to light up the background, but not all of it. I'm using that yellow that you used. I still want to use that blue. And I'm going to do that classic trick that I do, which is, let me disconnect the hair in the back. So I think the way you drew the hair is very, very haphazardly because you are interrupting the silhouette. If you were a photographer and you went through all the trouble of getting this girl to take this shot, dress the perfect costume for her outfit, whatever, find the girl with the best body for the job, you're not going to throw a big cape behind her in the silhouette just to hide all of her curves. You're going to find something in the middle. So I'm going to duplicate the layer. And in this layer, I'm going to do that classic trick, but I'm going to use that blue that you picked for the background, which is a great blue. And I'm going to darken it. Darken that layer completely. And just like that. So that alone we can see is already working. I think a silhouette is the best lighting scenario for this. Try to get her to look a little bit more badass. I think her head's a bit small. We'll take care of that in a little bit. And then the same thing, I'm going to do that same layer. Oopsie, I'm going to do that same layer. But I'm going to make it blue just so we can match the colors as well. Right, so a fully blue filter on top. So we're managing the colors and the darkness. The first one I'm going to do is the darkness. I'm going to decrease it down to like something like 50%, maybe not that much. And I'm going to start deleting away at it in the direction of the light source. Oops. So I want that old lighting back. I want some of that stock photo lighting, but I'm only going to make it light in the direction of the light source. So now we have a cylinder that has volume. Her thighs look like they have volume. Her torso looks like it has a cylindrical nature to it. Her arms are going to be lit up in an environment that actually makes sense. Look at that. We have tracking of lighting that makes a lot of sense. A little bit of bounce light there, a little bit here, a little bit on her cheek. And so this partial silhouette is really doing a lot now. A little bit on her hair. All right, and then just underneath that, I'm just going to go ahead and get Dodge Tool and try to boost up the layer underneath so we can get a bit more of that lighting. And I'm also going to get that gold color and use that on like a, not Dodge Tool, soft light. and use that on top of all these spots here that are getting that environment lighting, which is another thing you didn't do. You didn't use any of the yellow of her environment on her body. Look at what's happening. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on color and reduce it down so that we have a color change as well. Colors are a little bit more cool. And I'm going to just delete away at the shadows so that we get a lighting like I did earlier that's coming in from the side. I have to be very careful with my deleting here. So I'm going to delete as if the light, another light is on the camera. casting a shadow off her face onto the rest of the illustration. So right here, and a little more. Maybe I should zoom in now. I'm trying to cast the shadow of the nose a little more carefully. I'm very picky. And blending that. Trying to be very careful with where I put these shadows. So now it looks a little bit more cinematic. It looks a little bit more like there is a story here. I'm going to also cast a shadow. Duplicate this layer. Cast a shadow off her hair onto the rest of her forehead, which was something that was missing. Big mistake. Never, ever, ever forget your ambient occlusion. Makes things look very, very realistic. I'm just blending that out. And a little bit on the lash, a little bit off her head, onto her hand. Do you see that? You missed a whole cast shadow here, man. And I'm just going to go a little bit darker. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes you made, is this missing cast shadow. And I want to remind you guys that the people who are posting their art on this subreddit, it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes so much wisdom, first of all, to say that I need critique, I want to get better. These artists who post on the subreddit aren't going to stay intermediate or beginner intermediate or something like that for very long. Humans learn. Humans learn just by exposure. So these artists who are posting their work for critique, who are finding the courage to wait for critique, to ask for it, to post their art, they're going to get good really fast because they're exposing their mistakes out there. They're sending their mistakes out there. They're asking for critique. Those who don't ask for critique, those who don't work well with critique, those who don't think they need critique, who think they're above critique, they stay beginners for a very long time. And though they may be good at one or two things, it's very obvious which studies they're too proud to study. It's very obvious what they're too proud to want to be a student about. Because in order to learn, you got to admit that you don't know something. And that's a struggle a lot of people don't get over. And I've seen it firsthand, really, really closely. There are people who just cannot get critique. They don't know how to work with it. And it expands into outside of their art, expands into personality traits, expands into all kinds of stuff. So go and get some critique. Do yourself that service. Get good. Get actual good. Not good at one thing, and that's it. Get really good. And that's the only way to do that is through critique. So I'm just blending a little bit more here. And now I'm just gonna try to add a little bit more of that cinematic flair. I'm gonna merge that color layer down a little bit. And I'm going to try to darken the far side. Anything that's moving away from the light is getting gradual shadow. So that back thigh, the breast at the back, the torso at the back, the arm, everything that's not facing the direction that the light is coming from is getting a bit more shadow. Okay. And then there is the light coming off of the, actually, I think what I'll do is I'll do that with, merge down. I'll do that with dodge tool. There's the light coming off the camera that's going to shine on everything that the camera can see. So I'm using dodge tool on midtones, not highlights, to build up those elevations. A little bit sharper along the wrist and wider along the fat of the forearm. Along the thigh and the front of the thigh. Anything that the light of the camera can see. And then back to darkening that far side. So burn tool on midtones as well. And I'm just darkening anything that is moving away from the light source. All right, merging down, and then I'm going to darken once again and drop the levels down. So the more we do this, the more dramatic it'll look. But I'm also going to relieve all of this along her face because there's still the camera light revealing her face. Do you see that? So you get all of what you lost back when it comes to the focal points. And in a pinup, this is a pinup, the focal points are always going to be the bust, which is breasts up. Anything above that is all focal point. And then the body is kind of a secondary focal point. So you see how much volume we got out of darkening the edges and continuing to push for that silhouette. Now merge that down, duplicate again, and then darken the lower half, everything on the lower half of the canvas, because there's always that final rule. The eyes should not be looking at the lower half of the canvas for too long. So now it's starting to feel more cinematic, right? It doesn't feel like a stock photo for hemorrhoid cream. It feels like a scene from a movie, a Blade Runner or something like that. All right, so darkening the lower half of the canvas. And you guys are getting distracted by the bosom. What am I supposed to, how am I supposed to ever paint these things? All right, so I'm just taking care of that. And making sure there's a shadow, ambient shadow between the two thighs and their overlap. And finding any more edges before I move on to the face. Before I move on to the face, I'll bring the hair back. The hair I'm going to bring back to complement the silhouette, not to hide it. Remember. And I'm just trying to make the shoulder line look a little bit more natural. And now I'm going to talk about the face. So the face, it feels like, is hyper realistic, but in an uncanny way. First, it feels like it still feels like the ages are mixing. It also feels like you're ignoring the world of makeup. There's not a single movie you've ever watched with a female hero in it that did not wear makeup unless she was sick or some kind of patient of some kind of hospital. That's what they do sometimes. Sometimes they just let the actresses be barefaced, and that's enough to make them look sickly, because that's what a normal face looks like compared to makeup, and we're all used to seeing makeup. So there's a lot of makeup in your visual library, and when it comes to anime influence, there's makeup. There's makeup in everything, so you got to use a little bit of it before that hyperrealism kicks in. And that's what I mean by hyperrealism. It's not hyperrealism in the way you rendered. It's too realistic in the way you just kept it organic and didn't really add makeup. And so it feels out of place. It feels like you're trying to draw an everyday suburban mom, but you also gave her a hot bod and you made her in a sci-fi film. It feels more abstract than something that's uniform. Do you see what I'm saying? So you got to add the makeup to fit the aesthetic. I hate using that word, but the aesthetic. All right, and I'm just going to blend the eyebrows. I'm also going to get rid of this almost scowl she has, and try to do something else with the lips, because they don't feel like they're matching. They look sad, and I'm just gonna try to not make them look sad. She looks like she has a frown. And I'm also going to try to, with radial shading, turn the head away from the camera, meaning that it's going to get shadows along the edges. See that? So I'm casting a shadow on the far side, not a cast shadow. I'm throwing a coarse shadow on the far side. All right, so a lot of edits, a lot of changes are happening really, really fast. I hope you guys can keep up. So what are the main changes I made today? Can anybody list them out? Has anyone been paying attention, or are y'all just looking at the boobs? All right, so that cast shadow should, coarse shadow should do a lot. Also, another reason why the eyes may look a little bit off is the size of the pupil and the iris. It feels like the style is just a little bit struggling to come through. You're fighting the style a great deal. Body proportion, cinematic lighting, ambient occlusion is important. Yes, perfect. And so I'm just cleaning up here. And I'm going to make sure that she has the dark spots on her face that she needs for the lips to look finished. I'm going to make sure she has nostrils. And that nose shadow I'm going to combine with the other nose shadow I added to make it look a little bit more similar to what we had before. Okay, and I'm just going to give the face less realism in the feature type, and the distance of the lips from the nose is adding to that. Because this artist painted a character with very limited 3/4 view rotation, I'm not going to say that most of these decisions were fully conscious. I feel like some of these decisions were unconscious because the artist is still learning. So there, as a teacher, it gets really difficult for me to discern between when an artist was deliberate and when they just didn't have the skill for it. But most of the time, you guys do changes that or do work that is deliberate. But sometimes there are, bad design decisions that show a lack of experience as much as fundamental decisions. So I'm just increasing the size of the pupils and the iris. Big boobs means big pupils, big iris. That's how it works. Flipping the canvas. It just matches. Before they were just a touch too small. It just looked like you were trying to do something more realistic than we have space for in this type of, again, I hate that word, aesthetic. I hope you guys understand what I mean by realistic features. Can anyone describe? Can anyone try to reiterate what I said? Maybe you guys will say it better than me. Okay, and then I'm just going to add that shadow of the pupils and the iris. Oopsie, haven't merged down. And I'm just casting that shadow here. So the reason I do so much more work is because I want the before and after to feel complete. And sometimes it doesn't feel complete until I've touched on every portion of the illustration. I'm going to add the lash line, and then in Liquify in a moment, I'm going to fix the gaze now that I corrected or changed the iris. I'm going to fix them. Features that give a sense of recognizable realism. Who am I putting on blast? Was this your work, Death Sonic? So I'm just adding those highlights now. No? Okay, and so I'm just going to make the eyes look like they're looking in the same direction. And so I'm just making the eyes look like they are looking in the same direction. Yogurt commercial, but she's emo. Yeah. And just trying to make her look at the viewer, make a connection. Android girl with father issues. Because her father made her, but also didn't care about her. But also, you know, maybe he did. Maybe at the end of the day, before she shoots him in the face, he's like, "You are my best creation." Just to mess with her. And I'm just adding that highlight on the eyebrow. Okay, so it's looking okay. It's looking better. I'm not really happy with some of the changes, but we're getting somewhere. So I'm just going to clean up the gesture of the hand that sits around her face. I'm going to try to get some shadow snuck in there in between her bangs. Cancel, cancel. Oh, so you're just acting up now. Okay, that makes no sense. Let me just, Photoshop is showing signs of it wanting to crash, so I'm just gonna save. And then just adding those here. And one thing I'm gonna take artistic license with is the color of the lips. I want to do something else. I feel like they're just, the color is so out of the theme. I'm gonna give her a darker lipstick. It's gonna make it come out in the dark. The lips are kind of hidden. And also add to that feature, which is just that dark theme that I'm going for. I'm also going to add the hair now. So the hair, first of all, as I said before, the head looks very small. So I'm just going to shrink the size of the head all in one fell swoop. Increase the density, just like that. And then the head was just a little bit unshapely, meaning that there was no real complementary shape from that the hair was doing to complement her head size. This is better than a hair that looks like this, because that's not complementing her silhouette. So this complements her silhouette. She can still have long hair. And so now I'm going to try to pick a hairstyle that complements her curves, what you're going for, really. And you could do the windswept hair. You could do a lot more than what you did before, which was just a big block. Okay, so I'm going to add another layer of hair. I'm going to try to make them thinner. I wish there was something that could automate this for me. These ones are going in different directions. And I just want the hair to look like her. Actually, I really like that combo there. And I'm going to give that another thing like that. Okay, so I'm going to merge these hair layers down, and then finally I'm going to finish with just one brush stroke width to try to build up the hair. Always work large to small. Never ever try to paint the hair with one block or paint the hair with a very thin brush. Do something that is in between. So now the light is going to get in between and still keep her silhouette intact. So look at all the cinematic value you have now in your illustration. There's so much. Just from some stylistic choices that actually read. And now I'm just going to try to render this hair as quickly as I can by using some breakage in the hair just to show where the hair is getting some volume. Grab that and add it to the hair strands. And then just put in that big band of highlight that moves around every hair. And then we're almost done. So yeah, as I suspected, I won't be able to do the other one with the time I have. We're already hitting 6 o'clock. And I'm just going to add that shine light, which is a curve. It sits on hair on a curve, just like that. And I'm going to also blur the hair just a little bit, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, just a touch so we don't have those grainy lasso ends, and delete away at some of these sections. And then darken the hair once and for all to match the silhouette. So I personally wish that you didn't have hair. I think it looks so cool with like a short cut. So I wanted to do the long hair for you just so you can see it. I think it looks cool. It's very retro anime. Really, really cool. But the short hair is just, you know, Ghost in the Shell. It just looks so pretty. So I'm going to go for that for my paint over. But I don't want to, you know, make you feel like your design wasn't good. It was pretty good. And I'm just trying to create that. Oops. You seem like you have watched Sailor Moon. Yes, I have. I have watched Sailor Moon. Is this a Sailor Moon character? Yeah, I love Sailor Moon. And you know, it was our show when we were kids. It was the only one girls got to have, because the boys got the best shows. We watched those as well. But yeah, Sailor Moon was our show. Don't touch. Girls only. Get lost. And obviously it's not the case, but when we were in our house, it was girl time to watch. And then my dad found out that they're all wearing mini skirts, and he got really mad at us for watching that show and then forbade it. But we watched it anyway in secret. We would mute the TV when it was the theme song, because this man was diabolical. He memorized the theme song, so if he was taking a nap and he heard the theme song, he would come rushing down and yell at all of us for watching Sailor Moon. All right, and then I'm just fixing up the hair here. I really love the short hair because it's just adding something really, really cool to the hair. I love the short hair as well. So I'm just adding an extra shine at the bottom. So hair typically is light, dark, light. So it's always going to have that shine pattern on it. And so that's a secret. That's like the quick, easy way out when you're doing hair. And I'm just going to create a little bit more detail. And try to like make it almost like an uneven cut. So haram. Sailor Moon was so haram in my house. Okay. And oh yeah, I do not like that. So let me just correct it. Those two strands are not looking like hair. They look too uniform. So let me get rid of that. Fix that up. And just let the brushes naturally form the pattern. Okay. So let us take a look at one more little change that I want to do, which is going to be just something to boost the space behind her head. So I added that light, right? I'm just going to boost it so it's just a little bit, there's a little bit of extra light behind her head. And this is something they do in League Splashes. If they can't explain why a character has light, where it's coming from, they'll just pretty much add a halo. But they'll add a halo in a way that is not perfectly circular. So they'll like do something like that. They'll cut off the top. You have just a little bit of light behind the character. And usually they add extra little tidbits of silhouette strength just in areas where they really want something to come through. So right around the waistline, see that? We added select light behind different areas to boost that light. So there's a lot more I wish I could change, but unfortunately I don't have the time. These sessions are only so long. Remember, this is where the hair was before. I just needed to darken it. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. And of course, you guys know me. If it was up to me, the silhouette would be much more dramatic. But I love dark movies. I love dark themes. I love all of that. One thing we can do is only darken the upper half of the oops. Darken only the upper half of the silhouette. So what we can do is something like that. Okay, so we darken a lot of the upper half. It's moving away from the light source, so it's much darker than it was before, but the reprieve is that we get to delete. We get to delete it. Anything the light can see. So we get that silhouette, but we have a lot more mystery involved in this character's presence in the illustration. The character has a presence now. Before she didn't have a presence because she was on a lab table. She didn't have a presence, as much presence as a victim has on an autopsy table victim. Because it's all the light is on them. There's no mystery. And so there's not going to be any chance for you to tell a story. And all stories have a level of mystery to them, all of them. So what I'm going to do is just find maybe, I don't know what color to pick, maybe just any ambient complementary tone. There's a lot of yellow in this scene, so I guess I'm just going to use yellow. Since there's fire all around her. She just burned down the lab she was made in, and she's pissed. See, I may be making jokes, but you really do have to think like that a little bit. You do have to make these kinds of imaginings happen in your mind. You do have to try to take it upon yourself to become a movie maker for a little while. And so what I'm doing is finding that secondary light source. The fire is all around her, and so it's going to create that bit of shine. Okay, and I'm trying to decide where that light is cut off, so right under the ribs. That bounce light. Not bounce, not really bounce light. It's just ambient. It's a light source. It's not bouncing from anything. But it is coming from that general direction. And so we can see more of the cylinders that are hanging out everywhere around her body. And on a female body, you have a lot more chances for this type of, because there's a lot of curvature. I wish I could fix this hand, but you're going to have to ask somebody else. Ask Cynics. Maybe he's better. He's probably better at hands than I am. I know that the wrist needs to be a little bit less thin because of her age. And though I've drawn plenty of hands in my illustrations, it always seems like it's just not enough time to fiddle around with them too much. Also, it'd be cool if you just gave her a gun. Just give her a gun. Something that looks weird is that there is the pelvic bulge, even for females. There is a pelvic bulge, so I'm just going to try to introduce it here. Just a little bit. It's blue because I'm using Dodge tool. I'll bring it down in the color. But it makes a little bit more sense to have it. Just tone it down with that ambient occlusion. And then there's the stomach and the stomach bulge, I guess. And there's a little bit of a, we can't see her belly button, but we should see some of the depression. It's a skin tight suit. So sometimes you can see where your belly button starts forming, even with just like a big shirt. You can just see that circular teardrop look. Okay. It's pro gun confirmed. I'm screwed. And then I'm just gonna go back to that bounce light layer. Oh yeah, it was the same layer. Oops. Oopsie. And I'm just going to add some of that bounce light to her hair. And then just try to get that in there. Okay, so I'm gonna merge that down. And so what was the lesson of today? What was the lesson? I used to do something. I used to give out free not Portrait Studio, brushes, my brushes. If somebody wrote really good notes from class and posted them. So I'm going to do it this time too. If you guys make good notes and post them to the subreddit community, and I take a look at them, and I like them, you can pick something, like maybe like from my store. If it was a masterclass, I'll give you a discount code if you want. Okay, how about that? But if the brushes, I'll give you for free. But I'll pick one winner from today's class, whoever took the best notes. I really will. And it's about the one who sends them the soonest. So if there's many people who sent them, the person who sent them in the soonest on the subreddit will be picked. It's the soonest good notes. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not like the soonest notes. The soonest of the best notes. Okay? This encourages you guys to take notes. I know my brushes are just one in many, but it's just something to give you guys. Other than cold hard cash. And I'm not in a position to be giving out cold hard cash. One day maybe. And I'm just doing that. Okay, at the bottom of the canvas, what I'm going to do is blast that light. I'm going to just, bam, you know, the light source has to be coming from something. But I'm also going to do something very controversial, not really, which is add shadow on this part of the canvas. You can add light and shadow on the same part of the canvas. Yes, you can, but just a little bit, just enough to dramatize it. And I'm going to add a little bit at the top as well. So it's not a full silhouette in that the character is not visible because they're in a silhouette. But it's just enough that we have a presence to the character. All right. Anime is haram. Yes. So I'm going to flatten the canvas. I don't know what I just said. I think I just said a whole bunch of crap. Pick one, and that's what I said. I believe this is not like the others. I believe this is from my bad lasso job. This is hair. Okay, so what did we talk about today? Cinematic lighting. Again, whoever does the best notes, you can have my brushes for free. So, cinematic lighting is making lighting that doesn't reveal the whole character. So yes, I changed the character quite a bit. I took a lot of creative liberties to pull this off. And then after, so we have a character that's lit up, but there's a lot of light behind them. So if you wanted a character that was completely lit up, I mean, it's up to you how you want to pull it off. But this was about cinematic lighting. It wasn't about fully exposed characters. It was about making sure that what you guys are creating is a scene, is a movie scene. If you want those splashes that have a lot of impact. Apart from the anatomy mistakes that you had, I think that there was not much of a story being told. Every part of this character was exposed. The features were all pretty much visible, and we have more of a, oh, she was looking in a different direction. We have more of a mysterious character now. So she was looking in that direction. So let me match it. Oops. Okay, so a lot of the times it's not about, painting strictly dark characters or moody characters, but it's about filling the viewer's eyes with some cinematic experience. It's about giving them something to remember, something that they're going to feel a lot of connection to in some way or another. Like, for instance, if I see this, I'll remember this illustration simply because of the lighting, the impact. And this one, it just feels like too much is visible. Is it a character design splash? If it was, it shouldn't have a background, even a graphic one. And it shouldn't really try to attempt at a light source in two directions. You're having a blasting light source from the back and a lot of front-facing camera studio stock photo lighting in the front. And it got really confusing, really messy. Pick one that is dominant, but it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your character. For me, my personal taste, I like the dark ones. If you don't like it darker, you can always adjust as you go. For instance, this is a simple levels change that raise the values up to combat whatever you felt like you were losing in the previous one. There are so many extra adjustments you can make that will reignite that exposure. But no matter how you re-expose the character, it'll be uniform with the environment she's in. It's still impacting the audience, right? And then before, after, before, after. I personally like the really dark ones. If you don't like the changes, pick something from the changes, either the anatomy fix, which were very, very much in need. That arm was very underdeveloped, or the lack of maturity in the face. Again, I'm not talking about realistic faces. I'm talking about faces that have a template that actually works in illustrations. And then, of course, there's that and that. So let me see where I did that before. So these are the changes. Oh, she's like changing her eyes. That's kind of creepy. You see that? That's so cool. So yeah, these are the changes. I hope you guys enjoyed this class. Really, there's a lot to learn here from other worlds. You guys can go watch a movie on a documentary on cinematic lighting. Literally watch a movie and take notes. You're not going to learn this stuff just from just sitting down and studying nonstop form. Some things about your journey, your art journey, are to be learned outside of your canvas, outside of your office, in the world, and seeing how movie makers film a particular scene, a particular mood, a particular type of character or trope. Reading a book, looking at other illustrators and how they pull off their amazing illustrations, and the sense of awe and the sense of wonder. It's all to do with a combination of scale and lighting and depth and perspective. And those are the things you can't studying a 3/4 view face. And you guys are trying really hard to create these illustrations, but you end up falling off a great deal. So before, after. To remind you guys, there is a community contest going on right now. That community contest is, you win a lot of stuff. Sessions with me, I sit down with you one-on-one on Discord, screen share, and we talk about your art. We talk about your portfolio. Where are your weaknesses? What do you need to work on? Where should you focus your attentions? I give you a curriculum, and it's part of the rewards. But it's also about not just rewarding already really good artists. The winners of these challenges aren't always the best artists, but they do have they give it their all. they show that their journey means a lot to them, and they mean it when they want critique. And that's always the type of artist I love to teach. And I get a lot of tutoring applications, but I'm very selective with who I pick because I like to find the ones that aren't there just to get really good and make money off of art. They're there because they want to be good at art, because that they need it like they need air. And so that's who I love to teach, because they soak in everything. It's kind of like a really interesting way of teaching my younger self. So please join the community challenge. I love to meet you guys, and the winner sits with me in the call while I critique everybody else, and we get a little bit of their input as well. And Portrait Studio and my masterclass are no longer going to be on sale 2 or 3 days from now. So look out for those on my store. There will be sales come summertime, but there won't be sales for a little while soon. And that's it. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate you guys being here in the live streams. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.